Good evening, everyone. Welcome to another edition of the Gray Area here on the Black Man Unfiltered Network, simulcasting on the Sparta HQ Network. I am Mr. Bennett with my partner, as always.
This is Sparta!
The Ghost of Sparta, a.k.a. Peter, a.k.a. Panayotis Yasu, my brother. What is going on?
Snow. That's what's going on.
I know. Tell me about it. Tell me about it. Yeah, man. So I went out. I just took my dog out, and it's anywhere from 9 to 14 inches, depending on where. So I just took a measurement outside. So in the flat areas, it's 9, but then it can easily go with to 14, 15 inches. So I'm just so I
got more
my
up
snow.
here.
Yeah, so I got my snow plow ready, and so I think we're supposed to get some flurries overnight, and so we're going to take that on tomorrow morning. And we're just gonna go from there. But just want to give a shout out to some folks in the chat tonight. So again, we got our guy all the way from UK, Craig, and we also have our guy Eugene Steele. A long time, haven't talked to you in a minute. Good to see you. Again, very thoughtful brother. Certainly that I've had the pleasure of sharing the stage with a lot in these BMU spaces. And then we got again Miguel De La Torre. Hopefully I'm Y2T. Hopefully I'm saying that correct. But, just again, make sure when you guys come in tonight, hit the like button. It certainly really helps the algorithm. Also consider dropping a Cash App or a Super Chat to the Black Man Unfiltered Network. You see his Cash App scrolling at the bottom of the screen. Also, anything that you want to give to us personally, you will see scrolling at the bottom of the screen. I'm sorry. I'm in the wrong area. I'm in the wrong show. So I need to go into the gray area, and there we go. So this is so again, Black Man Unfiltered Super Chat. But again, anything that you want to give to us, we see scrolling at the bottom here, our Cash Apps, so Sparta HQ Network, and make sure you go over there and give some love over there as well. We appreciate certainly what you guys bring to the show. But we are doing fine. Again, we are snowed in. So like I said, I've done absolutely nothing today. But again, I'm locked. I'm loaded. I got my snow thrower ready in the garage, ready to go. I got Anton Jersey stand up. I was also in the house tonight, so appreciate you being here tonight as well. And so definitely interested in the topic. Hopefully you guys are enjoying the football. I know you got the NFC and AFC championship games today, so we already know the one team's already in, and this game's coming down to the wire here. So hopefully you're enjoying the football. If you want to have a review of certainly the action from this weekend, tune in on Wednesdays, one-on-one sports show Wednesdays here on the Black Men Unfiltered Network. I'll be chopping it up with the guys as we certainly cover and put in our predictions for the Super Bowl coming up, as well as all the things that are happening in the world of sports as we transition from the NFL into other sports, NBA, and all kinds of things. We made Anton talk about soccer, so we'll have hockey, not some hockey action. So
Come on, man, you gotta talk about hockey. Isn't the most American sport out there?
Yeah, apparently. I mean, look, I get that it's that there's a lot of passionate fans. I mean, New Jersey doesn't have a lot of hockey fans, but the ones that are very passionate, and they pack the Prudential Center certainly for those games. So I certainly agree that there, and I know Anton's upset because you should be upset too, because you being the diehard Jets fan, the Patriots going back to the Super Bowl. So
don't get me started. Don't.
So
you want
I'm
me
just
to go
saying.
there? I'll go there. Those motherfuckers probably cheated once again, because that's the only way that Patriots win. Before it was because of Brandy, Tom fucking Brandy. Fuck him. Fuck the Patriots, because the Patriots probably stole it. They probably deflated their fucking balls once again. You want me to keep going? You got me going now.
Well, listen. All I know is they're going to be the representative for the AFC. We'll see what happens. So I'll root for the NFC this time. How about that? So that we can see if they can be. Because I don't want the Patriots. I don't want the Patriots to get a 7th Super Bowl. What's that?
I'm watching the stats right now on the other side. How the score is going. I think the Seahawks might take it away, bro.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely going to go down to probably who has the ball last. I mean, it's very nip and tuck, and so we'll just have to see how it goes. Very entertaining, much more entertaining. I mean, if you're a fan of football, likes that kind of grinding 10-7 with the elements, if you like that kind of game or what have you, then you may appreciate that. But this game here, a lot more high scoring, which I kind of appreciate. So again, you got two different types of games to choose from. But that being said. Let's get into this topic tonight. So again,
Before we
the
get into
topic,
it, I want to say one thing.
yeah.
This fucking snow is a pain in the ass to walk a fucking puppy. I
Oh,
finally
for
got him
sure.
house.
Oh,
Yeah, I
please.
finally
I'm
got
sure
him
you're
housebroken,
yeah.
and I couldn't not get him anywhere to.
Yeah, the snow is hot, is taller than your dog. So I mean,
It was, dude. The snow up here, it has to be at least over 20 inches at this point. It was close to my hip.
yeah. Oh wow.
So
Yeah.
I had called my buddy who had a plow. Like, dude, I need some help. I can't get my car out for tomorrow. I gotta go to work, and he got me out. I'm gonna call my landlord and we have a little conversation because they didn't do shit this year. They were just standing
Yeah.
around doing nothing. I was
Yeah.
like, what the fuck? But
Yeah, well, I think these days they just want to wait it out, because I think it's supposed to get a couple more overnight, and then by 1 o'clock tomorrow, I think everything should kind of blow over, the Atlantic by that point.
yeah, they're saying
So
it's going back and forth between 12 midnight and 12 afternoon. It's supposed to be done completely out of our area. So it's going back and forth on that. So, but I have to go to work. I'm an essential worker. Unfortunately, either way, I have to make it. It's just going to be skeleton crew tomorrow. It's just me and one more person. That's it, my chef. So I'm saying 2 chefs in the kitchen is not a good combination.
Right.
But seriously about this topic. This topic came from Father Costadino's wife. Me and her. After church, we have what's called coffee hour. So we all go downstairs, have coffee, and we kind of bullshit pretty much, And I have my own little crowd there. I just talk all the time. She's part of my crowd. And she was asking about the show a while back. She says, how's the show? Blah, blah, blah. Like, oh, it's going pretty good. I'm like, I'm trying to figure more topics coming up. She goes, and I kind of went over a couple of topics I had on my phone, like, here to make it more, visible. Like, I was going over the topics. She goes, she literally takes the phone off my hand, goes, start typing. Like, what the hell are you doing? She goes, oh, simple. I'm putting, without saying hell, of course. Says, well, what the heck are you doing? I went to her. She goes, I'm giving you some topics. I'm like, hey, this is one of many coming our way from Mrs. Costadino, very much Father Costadino's wife.
Okay.
So I'm looking forward to this conversation. It's gonna be a little different. We haven't done, we talked about marriage, but we haven't talked marriage and gender together. The roles have changed over the years.
Yeah.
I was having a conversation today with somebody saying, oh, she's a divorcee, and has kids and everything, but she doesn't think she will ever get married because she doesn't want to do the whole cooking and cleaning thing anymore. She wants to do her thing. She wants to come home, kick her feet off, relax, read a book, and do whatever she wants. She doesn't want to be in that house role anymore. She's done being a housewife. And it makes me think, have we gone away from the old school marriage? Like, I know you technically, in a way, have an old school marriage.
I would say it's kind of a hybrid. I mean,
Okay.
I certainly think there's some traditional roles, but again, my wife works. She's always worked. There was a season or a period in our lives when, she was home when we decided to have children. She was home for the first 6 years until longer, about 7 years, until my youngest got to kindergarten. And so, but we had 3 kids in 4 years. So it was like, we were, progressing through, but that was always the plan, to have them go back into the workforce. And certainly since my kids have been in school, that's always been the case. I mean, we take off time when we need to. We split roles to some extent in terms of, certainly kids' activities, PTA meetings or, back to school meetings and, things of that nature. Somewhat of a split when it comes to cooking, when it comes to certain chores, to certain things that I do, because I think I'm more comfortable doing them. Like for example, I've always mopped the floors in my house. And that comes from, I remember I used to work at McDonald's back when I was a teenager. And I had to go, start mopping floors. That was like one of the first things I did. And a guy who I was working with, I guess, I don't know if he was like ex-military or something like that. He was like, no, that's not how you do it. So he gave me this very, kind of military style. And, some of the military guys, I know Anton, if you can relate to this, but, a very vigorous back and forth and use your arms and use the muscle. And you kind of work it like this back and forth. and that's just something I've always done. And so I got, it got so much into my head that I couldn't stand it when other people didn't do it, because I started screaming at them, saying, no, that's not the way you mop a floor. So it was just easier for me to do a lot of those more rigorous chores and that sort of thing. So, but we've kind of had a split. We've always done, I have a thing about doing people's laundry or even doing my laundry. So, like, for example, my wife has never done my laundry. It's just something I've been doing laundry since I was 8 years old, carrying that big bag of clothes, walking 2-3 miles to the laundromat and back. And, it's just something I've always been used to, and I've never been comfortable with women's attire. I don't want to see stains. I'll just leave it there. I don't want to see period ish. I just don't. That's just not my thing. So you do your laundry, I'll do mine. And that's been the thing. When my girls got to a certain age, they started doing their own laundry. When they were teenagers, look, you do your own. The mother, my wife, she would do their laundry. But my thing was, everybody, you kind of do your own thing. So it's never been, like I said, quite in the traditional sense, with the exception of those 6, 7 years when my wife was home. We never got into like, okay, well, this is what you do. Is one, what made sense, where the aptitudes were, and what just works better for us. And so I do think, there's some flexibility that you can have. I think all of that is negotiable, though. And I think what you need to do, again, in your courting, I think those are topics that need to come up. What is your expectation when it comes to gender role or traditional roles when it comes to your marriage? And can you rock with that? To expect a career woman to all of a sudden become, the traditional apron and baking cookies. Again, if she wants to do that, then that's fine. But if not, then you have some decisions to make in terms of, again, is that what you want for your life, or do you want something? Else? So I think it's all negotiable, but I don't think that arbitrarily. I mean, obviously, just given just biology, there's certain roles that a woman's going to have over a man, and likewise, a man's going to have over a woman. That's just common sense. But there's a lot of gray area, hence the show, that people, I think, are free to negotiate on their own. And so, yeah. But before we go on, just want to give a shout out to our guy Anton. Thank you for the $5 super chat. Shout out to my father for celebrating his 85th birthday today, and my daughter for the birth of my grandson last week. Grandson? You're a granddad? Get out. What they tell you?
He was that old.
Black don't crack. What can I tell you? But appreciate, shout out to your father for his 85th, and congrats for being a a grandfather. But appreciate you being here, and appreciate the comment. Just want to go through a couple more here. Again, Eugene Steele, the whole idea of gender roles in marriage is for a woman to be in charge of the house while the man is the breadwinner. Back to biblical times, some family had servants, and the wife was, I think he's got a part 2, was in charge of the servants while the man was out there bringing home the main income. Yeah, facts, all facts. All traditional there. But your thoughts on this, Pete, or really, I guess from Mrs. Casadino, what were some of the things she was saying? Did she have comments on her own, or are there teachings or beliefs within the Orthodox Church that are, if not taught or encouraged, for this is what a man's supposed to do in marriage, and this is what a woman's supposed to be? I would certainly love to hear from an Orthodox perspective, and maybe that's a show where we can bring Mrs. Casadino or Father Casadino on in a future show and talk about that a little bit. But I'd be interested to hear from the Orthodox perspective. What do they say when it comes to gender roles in a marriage?
So I'm gonna go what I grew up with. I grew up in an old school setting. My mom, she worked somewhat, but my dad was the main breadwinner. My dad expected his meal on the table, slippers there, clothes is done, house is clean.
Slippers?
Yeah.
Wow.
He
Wow.
not my mom won't get the slippers, but she
Did
had
did he have the robe also?
he didn't have the robe, but he had the matching pajamas, the top and bottom kind of thing.
Right.
Yeah, it was
Right.
cool, like I Love Lucy kind of thing.
Right.
Like, but he was the old school traditional family, if that makes sense.
Mhm.
So by that said, they were used to that part of the mat. That's how they grew up. My grandparents were the same way. You know, my grandfather went to work. He was a plumber in the union. My grandmother was a maid in the palace for the Costadino the Third, and she raised the kids. You know, that was the thing. Most families I see now in the Greek community still follow the same steps.
Mhm.
Man earns the money, woman does the house. So, but they also have some women who, you know, they do both. They work and raise a house. The man is the primary breadwinner. Those who,
Mhm.
excuse me, and you know, if he does some stuff around the house, like he does the yard work, he does the snow removal, the barbecuing, the painting, the heavy lifting, pretty much.
Yeah.
Versus the woman who she does the everyday stuff, the cooking and cleaning, all that stuff.
Correct. Right. Right.
Like, I'll be honest with you, bro. Like, I'm a chef. The last thing I want to do is come home and cook it. I'm like, same
Right.
thing, dude. You work on PCs all day. What's the last thing you want to do? Work on your own PC, probably, right?
I don't know. Well, it's always been I used to build them. So again, I guess that's something I never kind of get tired of. But you mentioned the cooking thing. Again, I've been cooking since a very young age because my mom insisted. Now, again, my parents were split up from the time I was born. So I was with my mom for the first 13 years. And
Yeah, I
she
remember
had me doing a lot of domestic stuff. I know how to cook and bake, at a young age, sewing. And plus also back in the day, for Gen X's, you remember we used to have home economics. And in home economics, you learned how to cook, how to bake bread and pies and pizzas and things like that, how to sew, a lot of those things. My mom, she was a seamstress. And so she taught me early on how to use she had a Singer sewing machine. And she showed me some of that as well. So again, I always grew up kind of knowing how to do certain things. When it came to cleaning, my mom, she was one of those people. She would be on the floor. She would get that bleach out. She would bring the stove, pull the stove out, get behind there and scrub on the floor. I learned all that stuff from my mom. So, so again, when it came to those kind of things, it wasn't like I was absent from those. And so even when I got married, like I've always been a better cook than my wife. Now my wife has gotten significantly better. And there's certain things that she owns. She owns the mac and cheese, right? Now again, early on, her mac and cheese was awful, but she got better at it. And there's just certain dishes that she just owns, and she's just she makes some slamming, some other turkey wings and other dishes that she just owns. But there's other things that I own. I do stir fry on Sundays. So that's my thing. And then on certain Saturday nights, if no one wants to go out or whatever, spaghetti dinner, that's my thing. I make a nice spaghetti what they call gravy. So I make a nice gravy with the pasta and everything. And it's just, but we've never been, okay, well, this is your job or my job. It's like, again, what are you good at? What do you enjoy doing? I like seeing my family have a good meal just like she does. Mm-hmm. And it's just what makes sense, And sometimes when nobody feels like cooking, or if it's not them, you know what? There's a Asian spot down the street, get some chicken and broccoli and some wings, and we good for the night. But it's never been a requirement. I never, in my dating, in my profile, right? I never said, oh, she has to learn how to cook. She has to be able to do all these domestic things. Because again, I was like, well, one, that's not what I got married for. As everybody knows, I got married for sex. The other stuff that'll come later. All right, we can figure all that out later. But that was my main. That was my main reason for getting married. So again, that wasn't a big deal that I needed this domestic person. But again, like I said, everyone's going to be different depending on the background that you come from.
So here's the difference about me and you a little bit. All right. So is our careers of choices. a chef career, typical hours, it could be up to 80 hours a week.
Mm-hmm.
So, excuse me, well, my throat was dried up. Um, so sometimes I don't have the time to do the housework, the
Right.
laundry, all that stuff. If
Mm-hmm.
my wife only has a 40-hour job, kind of, I don't expect it, but I kind of be nice to have some things done before I get home.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like,
It's just logical. It just makes sense. Yeah.
yeah. So that is something that I will enjoy, be very happy and enjoyable, knowing, oh, okay, I don't have to worry about this. And I'll use CQ for a great example. They both work IT, they work from home. So they have, and I seen them talk in front of me, is he has his responsibility, whatever they are. I don't know. I'm not gonna get into details because I don't know. She has his responsibility. The one responsibility I know he has, and she does, is not her responsibility. His studio/office is his responsibility to clean and to
Mm-hmm.
do whatever he wants to do with it.
Mm-hmm.
That makes sense. That's his area.
Mm-hmm.
So like even in my household, when I was me and my mother, like I know people don't understand this and say, "Oh, that's kind of fucked up," but you don't know the behind the scenes of stuff. My mom has responsibilities I have for her for.
Mm-hmm.
For example, the laundry's on her. Folding it is on her. It's
And
because
we
not
say on her. So what? Does she do yours too?
yeah, there's a reason behind that.
Okay.
It's a good reason behind it. It keeps her active. It comes from her doctors.
Mm-hmm.
It's saying, when we first moved up in this house before the cancer, I was cooking, I was cleaning, I was doing everything. Even with an 80-hour job, I still made time to do it at night. Was I always tired? Yeah, but it was part of the gig kind of thing. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Then when her cancer came in and her health decreased a little bit, and they're asking me all these questions of doctors and service workers, like, who does the cleaning? I do. Who does the cooking? I do. Everything that I was doing. And we had a meeting with the social worker and the doctor, and it says, you actually are doing the worst thing ever. Say again. Like, I thought this is this is what I am supposed to do. She raised me, she cooked me, she wiped my ass, she did everything. So it's my turn to return the favor.
Mm-hmm.
The only thing I haven't done is wipe her ass. But I bathe her, I do everything. She goes, bathing's fine, but you need to give her responsibilities.
Mm-hmm.
I am not connecting the dots here. I went to him like something I'm missing. 1 + 1 = 2, so I'm missing the plus sign here. I went to him. So they say, because you're doing everything, she has no way to be active.
Yeah.
Like,
Purpose.
she does not want physical therapy. She
Right.
hates it because she doesn't stand. Oh, I hurt afterwards. That's soreness. That's a good thing. We know that as men who are into fitness. She doesn't understand that. And we try to explain that to her, but she thinks, ow, it hurts is pain, but it's not ow. It's a good hurt. It's a bad hurt. In her
Mm-hmm.
eyes, all hurts is bad.
Yeah.
So we gave her some responsibilities. My mother hates my cooking. I'll be honest with you.
She hates your cooking.
Yes. And I'm a personal chef. There's some
And
dishes.
chef.
She goes to me, oh, can you make your famous pina la vaca? I'm like, I thought you hate my cooking. He goes, I never said those words. Like, fuck you. I'll go, you did. I'll make her my pina la vaca because it's like,
Mm-hmm.
I'll put it this way. I made it the other day. People fight over it. I'll put it this way. I literally had to break a fist fight once.
Right.
2 old ladies are fighting over the pina la vaca sauce.
Mm.
I'm like, maybe this was a bad idea. I'm like, and I know you say your wife makes a killer mac and cheese, but I'll challenge that any day. I have one of the best.
Right.
So, but my point I was trying to get to is some things I make, she knows I'm really good at. Like, she doesn't like my cooking because, for example, pasta is supposed to have a little bite to it, like
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it shouldn't be overly chewy, right, or soft.
She likes it chewy.
Oh, okay.
Because her teeth, and that's the thing we kind of like butt heads. But like for Christmas, I made a prime rib. She loved the flavor, but she's, oh, this is a rough meat. And she's like, she couldn't pull it out of her teeth. I'm like, it's nothing. It's because she has bad teeth. It doesn't mean it's bad or rough.
Mm-hmm.
It's because you didn't take care of your fucking teeth over the years. So that's why we have responsibilities. And the way this household is built at this moment, like the downstairs is her responsibility. I don't ask her to vacuum or clean the carpets. Just make sure you make sure. I cook the dinner usually, but I cook about out of 6 days, about 4 days for her. The other day she makes herself. She makes herself breakfast, lunch, and stuff like that. When she's not in the mood for that, she tells me, "Can you cook me breakfast?" Yeah, I'll whip it up really fast. But her main responsibility is to keep eye on Apollo because he can't be in a crate all day long, and he's gone very far already. But he's still puppy. He's still gonna get into things. 2 is the kitchen table must be cleaned off. That is my biggest pet peeve. I hate when I come to the table and it's piled up with papers all the way up here or junk, and you cannot put like, where am I gonna put my plate down and sit down and eat? That's my biggest pet peeve. Yeah. So and put the dishes in the dishwasher. That's only 3 things I really ask from her on a daily basis. Laundry, if she she does it, but if she tells me she doesn't want to do it, I do it. I don't care. That's a mother and son kind of relationship right now. But like I said, a wife and a husband, it really depends on the situation, I believe. I think the responsibilities should be broken down 50-50. It shouldn't be you do the housework, I do the yard work. Because we know very well we don't have yard work all year round. So we have to pick that. With the child question there, that's a good question too, because if we have more boys, I think that'll be falling more on the man versus the woman.
Well, it depends. Now, I know Anton said earlier that growing up in his household, he had both. So again, they all 3, they learned again domestic work and household chores. And then we also learned basic plumbing, yard work, electrical. So again, I don't know if any sex was necessarily excluded from from those things. I mean, is teaching a girl some certain traditional male role work, is anything wrong with that? I off the top, I can't say I don't have a problem with that. But for a lot of us growing up, especially if you grew up with, didn't have that quote unquote traditional household, you did whatever it took. So again, that's why, like I said, I never had a problem with cleaning, sewing, yard work, whatever the task was, you just did so it's just about proficiency, who was good at it, who could take it on. And it was, like I said, it's never been an issue. The only thing I told my wife I did not want to do is, look, I don't want to do hair. So I never learned how to braid my daughter's hair. That was just not my thing. I didn't have the patience for it. And, that sort of thing. And likewise, she wasn't trying to go out there and mow the lawn. So again, so there was just certain things. Again, this is in the course of conversation. This is part of your negotiation. What are you willing to do and the things that you're not willing to do? And then you'd be like, okay, I will take then, therefore, those things on. And so those are not. So again, I think there is some wiggle room. Like I said, just being a mother, especially if you have young babies or whatnot. Yeah, I think a mom is better at certain things. Now, conversely, when your kids get a little bit older, I think that's when I think a father's role. I know in my situation, I became a better. My role as a father became much more defined when my daughters became teenagers, or certainly past, puberty. That's when my role as a father really kind of kicked in. But mom was enough up until around that age, and then I started taking on more responsibilities, or at least engaging or interacting with them more. Because again, I think there's a time to nurture, and then there's a time to teach, and a time to kind of let them spread their wings a little bit and really start to show them things. I'm the one who taught them how to drive. My wife is terrified to teach my kids how to drive. She even to this day, she doesn't like being in the car with them driving anywhere, even though they don't have accidents, they don't have any things like that. But it's just a thing. She does not like. She would rather drive than be driven by them. But I'm the one who got out there and with the cones and everything, and told me how to drive. So again, my role changed, became more defined as we went on. But again, it was much more organic. Maybe that's the best word for it. As far as being able to decide, who's gonna do what. But obviously, look, I can't nurse babies. I can feed you a bottle. I don't have breast milk. So So I'm saying,
I hope not.
yeah. So certain things I just, like I said, I can't be able to do. Got another $5 super chat from my guy Anti. My wife hates when I make the bed because I still fold the hospital corners into blankets and sheets. Yeah, that's probably that military background that you have. So there's a certain way you're supposed to make your bed and whatnot, and she probably hates because of that. But
That's
yeah,
what
so
I'm big on too. And like before you do anything in the morning, before I make a cup of Joe, anything is I make my bed because I told you. So I told you multiple times actually. I was watching the motivation video with the general. I don't remember what branch it was. He said your first and stats of the day is making your bed, and it stuck with me. If I make my bed every morning, it's the first task of the day. I can move on from there, and that's what I've been doing for years.
Yeah.
It's always
Shout out to, again, Bomb Cherry Juice 2000. Again, it seemed like roles reversed. Just as I was saying, I taught my daughters how to drive. She taught her boys how to drive. And again, she hates braiding hair, but she loves mowing the lawn. So again, this is a totally flip situation. But is there something wrong with that? I don't think so. So again, so when people talk about, quote unquote, these, again, traditional roles, I think that requires some examination, especially in this era. I mean, you do have a lot of talk sometimes in these spaces. It's like as if women are going to get back in the kitchen kind of talk, and I just don't think that's constructive, and quite frankly I don't think that's happening. And so again, so what are you going to flesh out? Can you formulate a situation that works in the 21st century, at least certainly in this country? Other countries, like India or the Middle East or whatever, yeah, you may have more traditional roles for men and women. At the end of the day, I'm going to simply ask the question: is it working? And if it works, then I don't have an issue with women taking certain roles. In fact, it's funny because I remember there was a boss that I worked for. I think I might have shared this with you some time back. There was a boss that I worked for, and she was like very friendly. Like she would have us over to her house for parties like all the time, right? And she was married, and her husband was the domestic. She was VP of IT. So, making, nice house, nice environment and everything. And she was, doing the thing, and he basically stayed home and took care of the cats and some of the domestic chores. And they looked happy to me. And so I remember I was asking my wife, like when we left the house that first time, and I was saying, I just, just playing with her a little bit. So could you see ourselves in that situation? If you made like say twice or three times the amount that I was, could you see me being home? She was like, heck no. So again, with her, it was like, well, no, she still wants sort of a traditional man. She doesn't mind working, but you have to be working at least as hard as she is. You don't necessarily have to make more money than she does, but certainly she didn't want a situation where I stayed home as the domestic and she went out and worked. That's just in her worldview or whatever. She doesn't mind, two people working or whatever, or she gets to stay home. But that just wasn't something that she just couldn't see working. So, but I said, look, you're making the money, right? So what difference does it make if it's one pot, if it's our money, and if I'm good at it? Because I honestly think that with certain things, I honestly think that men can be just as good as women when it comes to domestic things, cooking, cleaning, things of that nature. I don't see any differences between what a man and woman can do. And in some instances, I think men can do it better than women. So like I said, the mopping thing, that military style mopping, that was just something that I knew I'd just be better at. So I don't find a problem with people working out a new way of doing things. And again, if the children are healthy, they see both the mom and dad working together and working out a plan for them, I don't see an issue with some roles changing. But like I said, especially when kids are young, I do think that there's certain things that come with that I think a mom is more suited for, and certainly certain things that I think a dad is more suited for. I was taught very early on: mothers protect, but fathers prepare. And that's
That's
always that's always stuck with me. So the analogy was, let's say if like your kid is at the park or whatever, and he's playing on the swing or the monkey bars or whatever, and falls down and scrapes the knee, and then the mom goes over there and just kind of calls, and patches up the wound or whatever, and hugs and kisses on him, and the father would be like, get back on that swing over there, don't come over here crying, and just get back on there. Now, who's right? Now, the question, to me, the answer is both of them. Again, they both have a role. There's a time when you're going to have to toughen up. Now, again, if a father's not around or if a mother's not around, yeah, you might have to do both. But I think there are certain roles that, again, I think genders occupy. And I'm certainly not saying that, that we need to go to this sort of gender neutral thing. I'm not saying that. I think there's a thing called femininity that can only come from women. And I think there's a masculinity that comes from men. But as far as roles, I don't think you lose your feminine nor your masculine because that a man cooks, he doesn't lose his masculine. Or if a woman wants to mow the lawn, she doesn't lose her feminine. I just think that, when people think in those kind of terms, I think you're limiting the type of relationships that are possible. And people just want this kind of, locked in image of what a marriage is supposed to be. And I just don't see it that way.
I do understand what you're saying. And I agree to a certain point. What I mean by that, if my marriage is shaped in a certain way that I have to take some responsibilities around the house, I don't have a problem with that. But I don't want a woman saying, I work 40 hours, I don't do shit, you have to do everything. And that's where I come in. And there are a lot of women saying, I'm not doing shit. Everything that I know, I didn't know him anymore. He passed away. My ex's brother, he cooked, he cleaned, he worked a 40-hour job. His wife didn't do shit around the house. Didn't lift, nothing. And that's where I kind of disagree with that personally, to be honest with you.
Right. But that's just a lazy person. I don't even think that has necessarily a role in the conversation. Because lazy's lazy. You could be a dude if you're a guy and all you want to do is play video games all day or just watch the football game or the TV all day or whatnot while your wife is doing everything. I'm not necessarily sold on that either. Like I said, I think everyone has a role to play. And again, I don't necessarily believe in 50-50. But I'm just saying, again, it's what you negotiate. Certain jobs, certain things require, it might be 90-10, depending on the situation. So I'm not so like locked in. But again, a lazy spouse, male or female, is a detriment to the marriage and to the institution. So I don't think that anybody should be taking a break when it comes to certain things. Certain weeks, it again depends on what it is. My wife sometimes, certain times of the year, her schedule gets backed up. I need to take on certain things. When I traveled, right? When I did the travel over the summer, look, I'm not here, so stuff's got to get done. The dog has to be walked out twice a day, and certain things. I mean, it just kind of goes with it. So again, I think there needs to be some flexibility when it comes to those particular type of situations. And I think as long as the couple is in tune, then I think it works. So again, like I said, I would very much like to hear from Mrs. Casadino regarding, again, shout out to Anton. I cook breakfast and my wife, cooks dinner. I mean, those are kind of, roles. She said here she taught her sons how to fight. So again, that's a very different thing you think that you would get from the dad. But certainly all of these things have to be I look sexy mowing the lawn. I'm not going there with that one. That's for your husband. But it has to be that way. Certainly if you're single. And again, but for a lot of us, we came from, like I said, I came from essentially a broken home. So those are, I guess, that sense of independence were certainly things that I had to have in order for things to get done. And I think my wife and I, we both had that kind of mentality. Get stuff done, or GSD, as some people say. Just get stuff done, and it doesn't matter who does it, as long as it gets done. Everything is is fine. But again, we have essentially one pot mentality here. It's not her money and my money. It's not, certain things I don't have. We have access to everyone's accounts. I paid a lot of the big bills because again, I'm better at it. And she may pick up some things here and there, but I do the taxes every year because again, she's terrible with numbers. So yeah, it would be awful if she did things like that. So I've done our taxes since we've been married, and so like I said, it just certain things that just work. Work better. Certainly another $5 super chat. Again, Anton, you've been blessing us all night. Really appreciate what you do for the channel. Again, $5 super chat. Both parents bring one important role to children, and that is balance. Yeah, I think, again, not everybody has that, especially in the African-American community, right? We all know the numbers. We all know the majority of the households are single parent and primarily the woman. But again, I think kids need a masculine and a feminine. And that's not only just for their development, but also, and what I'm hoping, like what they look for. In my daughter was telling me today that, probably one of the reasons she hasn't had as many guys coming up is because when they see me, then they kind of run the other way. I'm 6'3", 240 pounds. So, yeah. And so I'm like, so I guess they're like, he's one of those. So they know that, they're not going to bring any riffraff around here. And that's just, kind of how it is. But I think they need to see, like, again, what a man is and what a man does. And there's certain things that I tell them what to look for in a man. And we've talked about that on some of your shows in terms of what I think, growing into manhood, what that means. And I think a man certainly at base needs to be able to take care of himself and to live independently on his own. And not to say that you are living on your own, but again, be capable of doing that before you can think about trying to take care of someone else. So those are just certain things that I have. I think there's a way you carry yourself as a man, and certainly if I had a son, certainly those would be things that I'd be showing and teaching him. But I just think that we have to have I think in certain areas, though, with the way things are going, I think people are going to, again, have to fashion a new way. Because, again, what's happening, I think, in a lot of societies, modern societies, we're seeing the marital rates that are dropping. And I think a lot of that reason is because, again, people have sort of lost their way in terms of how to function as men and women within a relationship. The idea of independence versus interdependence has really steered us away from what worked. And when we talk about as a Gen Xer or as an older millennial, the family structured the way it is, and how you got a lot of young people, a lot of younger millennials and Gen Zers talk about, not wanting to get married and whatnot, is because they may see an image or a picture of something that they just can't see for themselves. But I think we need to give some flexibility and show them other ways and how other relationships work versus trying to cookie cut and just put people into one paradigm of thinking in terms of how a relationship would work. And I think you would certainly quell some of the anxiety that men and women have in terms of what's really important and what sustains a marriage long term.
I think that's the thing we definitely are going to agree on tonight is the cut dry, same old school mentality is not there anymore. It's different now. As much as I grew up in old mentality and fuck you, dude.
Shout out to our guy Craig from the UK, man. Always.
Numb nuts. I'm gonna kick you in the balls.
You got to go to UK to do it though. So take a flight.
I have my ways. Don't worry about that, dude. I make his wife do it for me. He doesn't use it anyway. So, but my point is trying to get to is one thing I have learned over the years between you, CQ, even King, the old school husband goes to work, breadwinner, wife stays home, cooks, is not there anymore. That has died a long time ago. But it could be I'm gonna fuck him up.
Don't get distracted. Just go on.
That is every situation. It has to be unique to that marriage. I think we both can agree on that at least.
I'm sorry, say that one more time.
Every situation is unique to that marriage.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think every marriage has a base, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's like a tree, right? Trees have branches. There's roots. There's again, love, respect, honor, duty. I think those are the foundations of any relationship, any institution. If you're a sports team, again, watching the football games earlier, I think that stuff works. You got to have that. But then, when you make the minor things as more important than the roots, then it can't sustain itself over time. So I think we really have to, so I think if you were to talk to me and again, now I know you mentioned King and Michelle, I love you guys and whatnot, and we'll see where that relationship goes. You guys are gonna have some major transitions and things that are going to go on. Follow the King and me on YouTube and certainly their dynamic and whatnot. But again, I think if you were to, ask us those fundamental questions between myself and CQ and all these guys have been married, our Payne, shout out to our guy, our Payne and whatnot, we're going to kind of come to the same, because I've been on panels with these guys. I've been on panels with Eugene Steele and some of these other guys. And when we're talking, it's like, yeah, like we kind of get it. Now, again, how it looks like individually in each of our households could still be very different, but the foundation is there. And that's, I think, so again, certain things don't change. Cooperation doesn't change. Respect doesn't change.
Mm-hmm.
Accountability doesn't change. Now, if you want to go away from that, I don't care who you are. If you're the man's not accountable, the female's not accountable, whatever it is, it's not going to work. But who does the dishes? Or who does the taxes, or who mows the lawn, or cuts the hedges, or whatever, who paints? Figure it out. But again, but that's to me though, that's what I think is what's really there. But again, you do have those who have differing opinions. Certainly, again, we got blessed again, dude. I don't know where your money, how your money is, but we appreciate you, sir. Anton, again, with the $20 super chat. My wife is better with budgeting and appointments because of my difficulties and challenges with both ADHD and cognitive learning disabilities. Trying to figure out things like that, I can feel totally overwhelming. Respect. And that's honest conversation. That is the ability also to be vulnerable and also to be accepted. Because you got a lot of women be like, oh, he's got those things. Oh, I don't want to deal with that.
Mm-hmm.
But again, when those foundational things are there, there's transparency, there's vulnerability, there's trust. I didn't mention that one, trust. Then yeah, it can work. And then whatever jobs need to get done, it's just logistics at that point. But it's not values. And I think that's part of the issue that I'm seeing is we made a lot of these roles on the same par with values. And I don't think those are the same thing. But again, we thank you again for certainly your support. You're definitely the big sponsor of the show tonight. We appreciate you being here. Try not to get in trouble since your wife is in charge of the money. Don't let her know that you've been giving so much support to the network. But we appreciate certainly your wife and whatnot, and we're looking forward. You guys, I think, will make a very dynamic show. So I'm just gonna keep putting that in her ear until she gets the message, and certainly looking forward to hear you guys on. But your wife is very intelligent, and she certainly would have a lot to say in these spaces, and I think it certainly add a lot of value to these conversations. But go ahead, Pete.
No, I'm saying, she curses you out. One or the other.
Maybe, we never know. So far, so good.
Yeah, dude, like you just said, bro. There's so many different options out there, and we need to.
You see what I got to deal with. Go ahead.
Put values correctly in your situation. Like you wanted to just get laid. That's all you cared about.
That's all I wanted. Look, full disclosure. But even when I say that, it was the primary motivator. I'll say that. But I knew it wouldn't sustain a marriage though. Like I knew, look, I wanted sex, but I wasn't gonna have sex outside of marriage. I was celibate, or I was abstinent, whatever you want to call it, before marriage to my wife. I wasn't a virgin, but again, I was abstinent. And you know, but I knew if I wanted to be married, I had to be a husband. And I got around some folks who were like, okay, well, what is this? How does this husband thing work? What do I have to do? What are the responsibilities of a husband? And so then I started getting schooled, because again, I didn't see it growing up. My mom and dad basically split up after I was born. My sisters, they were married at times, turbulent. My middle sister and my younger sister had very negative relationships with their husbands and boyfriends at the time. My oldest sister, who was married, I was there when they had rough patches, when they had like fights. So I saw that stuff. So my opinion of marriage wasn't very strong, but I wasn't going to go outside of marriage to have sex. So I'm like, if I'm going to do this, then I want to be all in. And what do I have to do? What is the role of a man, especially in my case, a Christian man, a godly man? What am I supposed to do? So the sex was the driver, but I knew you can't sustain a relationship on sex alone. And likewise, my wife, I mean, there were certain things that she had to grow into, because I don't think any one of us we were willing to be married. That's the only thing we really had. But we still had to work on some things, and we did have our rough patches during the course of our marriage until we got to a point of we're kind of steady right now. But yeah, we had our rough patches. And, you know, we'd have the weeks where we wouldn't speak to each other except mentally for like 2 weeks or 3 weeks without talking to one another and things like that. And I slept on the couch, and we went through all that stuff. So it's not a perfect situation, but again, there's certain things that sustain relationships. But for us, the issue wasn't the roles that we had. It was, again, those fundamentals: trust, honor, respect, duty, things of that nature. That's where our issues were. Understanding, acceptance. We had to get there. And once we got there, things have been pretty good ever since.
That does make a lot of sense. So you just mentioned you slept on the couch multiple times, right?
What's that?
You said you slept on the couch multiple times, right?
Yeah. By choice.
So, but why was it choice?
Because I could not be in the same bed. I did not want to be in the same bed with my wife being angry at her. Like that to me was just like foul. Like going to bed and we're pissed off at each other in the same bed. No, our bed is our sanctuary. That's our sacred place. That's where we make babies, and that's where we do our business or whatnot. That is a place of peace, and I did not want that in my bed. And so I'll sleep on the couch or I'll sleep in the other room or whatever. I did that on my own until we can reconcile and get back to business. And so, yeah, being on the couch for a couple weeks, I took that on my own until we can get to a point where we can get over things. But no, my bed, that is sacred. That's my blessed place, and I don't mess with that.
Mm-hmm. See, that's something I will probably disagree with you, because I would never. I'll make sure I never go angry to bed. Let's have this conversation. Let's figure it out before we go to bed. That's how I always deal with things. And it always worked for me in the past. Because I slept on the couch once in my life, and I will never, ever do that ever fucking again. Was one of the worst nights for me. But I will never do that again. Because I learned at a very young age, if you go to bed angry, you're going to wake up angry. And if you can't fix it before you go to bed, that's where you have major problems. So I think you could fix it before you go to bed. That's an option you have. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah. But again, it took us a minute to get, like I said, we would have 2 or 3 weeks. We talk about the Cold War. We had a lot of Cold Wars because I was much more of an alpha and she's definitely a sort of a passive kind of person and whatnot. And she can come off as kind of cold and, and we were both stubborn in our own right. So she'd stay in her stubbornness and I'd stay in mine. But again, 2 or 3 weeks became a week, became a couple days, became a day, and hopefully now this may be a couple hours. We don't allow stuff to kind of fester and build and grow until we work some things out. And so that's just something, again, we had to grow in. Because, again, divorce wasn't an option. That just wasn't going to be there. So, again, we had to figure some things out. We had to go through periods where we just went cold turkey, no sex for months. Just because we had to figure something, it's like things aren't working. Like we need to, no, not even that. I didn't even self-pleasure myself. This is like, because I was in prayer and fasting. I'm just being totally transparent here. Prayer and fasting because things were not right. And we were in our stubbornness. And I was just saying, just like, God, just break this thing. And when we finally were able to break it down and we got sex off the table, now we can deal with, okay, what's really going on? And it was about respect. It was about honor. It was about duty. It was about responsibility. It was about accountability. Forget how you feel. The thing that you'll hear me say in my house all the time, which my kids know, what my wife knows, you do what is required. Not what you like. What is required. And you don't complain about it. And so now my wife and I, we of the same mind. We're of the same thing. We do whatever it takes. I don't care if she does it, I do it, who gets the credit, does it get done? And that is how we roll. I mean, so, and again, it's interesting now with our kids and just how they think. My wife and I are like, we're so in lockstep with just the thought process and what we do. And like I said, it's to the point now where we're kind of boring. Like we don't have a lot of, there's not a lot of, we're not necessarily looking for excitement. We got a good thing. We keep this thing going. And we just take it. And as I've said consistently in these spaces, we take it 1 year at a time. This is season number 29 that we are in. That will be wrapping up in about 2 months. And when this season's over, we bury it. And we get ready for season 30. But I never say I've been married for 28 years because it means absolutely nothing. Especially if we get divorced, then what difference does it make? If you've been married 29, 30, 35, 40 years, you get divorced, then what was it all for? So again, we've learned to live in the present, to quell issues quickly, and whatever needs to get done by whomever, unless it's something that physically we can't do, or like I said, there's just those things. Like I said, I'm not touching hair. Daughters come up, it's like, can you take my braids out? It's like, no, I'm not doing that. Mom has to do it. Even though she's tired, she'll do it, or whatever it is, or get one of your sisters to do it, or something like that. I'm not touching that. But like I said, they're not going to get out there with that snow thrower tomorrow and use that either. That's on me. So suck it up. So that's kind of, again, that's just how we.
That much, don't you?
What's that?
You hate hair that much, don't you?
It's just not my thing, man. It's just like I don't want to. No, I just don't want to do that.
I get it.
So that's just what we do.
No, I totally understand what you're saying. because if it's not your thing, it's not your thing. But like you said, they're not gonna be out there cranking the snowboard back and going out there with the in -0 degrees to clean the snow. You are.
Mhm.
You're
Yeah.
not. You're not gonna be out there.
My wife got out there a couple snowstorms ago and tried to get. She almost threw her back out. I told her, if you're gonna get out there, use your legs. It's just because that kind of works. Like, unless you're doing it properly, you can hurt yourself pretty badly. So I told her, get out there, use your legs. But the problem is her knees. So she doesn't bend very well. So she came back, and her back was like hurting her all week because, again, she's not used to that type of work, and that's just not something that she is really prepared for. So she got out there for like maybe 10 minutes out there, and she's like, "Oh, okay, I'm done." And I went back inside. That's just not. I appreciate the college try, but it just wasn't. That's just not her thing. She may, yes, take the snow off the porch or whatever. Fine. Or take snow off the top of the cars or whatever. Fine. But to get out there and shovel, especially towards the front of my driveway, that's where all the heavy stuff is because the snow plows come through. So it's like every time you're picking something up, it's like you're literally lifting 100 pounds every time you pick something up. Nah, she's not built for that. So it's like, all right, I'm going inside. And then, like I said, for the rest of the week, her back was bothering her. That's just what it is.
No, I can see that.
Yeah. But talk about the again, the Orthodox Church. I want, from what you've been taught.
Mm-hmm.
Talk about that a little bit. What does the church say about gender roles from the Orthodox? Because again, I don't know that much about the faith or the
so this
the
is
discipline. So talk about that a little bit.
Say, and it is what it is. So one thing is big about in the church is obey. The woman must obey the husband. That is huge in the vows. I know a lot of people they want to take that out. You cannot take that out in Orthodox religion. I'm not saying you have to obey. I'm not saying, but you have to say those words. I know I pissed off a lot of people saying that over the years. Not saying you have to obey or the mentality like that. You have to say obey in your vows. I know a woman I worked with said, "Oh, my husband can go fuck himself. I'm not going to obey him, anybody, any of this stuff." She was going off. And my boss looked at him like, "You do know he's Orthodox, right? And that's part of what they believe in is obey. They believe in the old school." And she started going off, and he turned around and asked her, like, "When's the last time you went to church?" He goes, "Over 30 years." So you can't have that discussion if you don't even go or even believe in the higher power. But in the vows, we do have obey. That's humongous. And if you look back in
it's only from the woman's. So the man's vow is different from the woman's. What does the man say in his? Like,
I don't remember off my head, to be honest with you. It's been a while since I went to the Greek wedding. Because my buddy who just got married recently, he got married he flew out to Greece to get married. Because all his families and friends were down there. But it's different. I know it doesn't have obey. I believe it says serve instead. His wife has to obey, but he has to serve his wife in return.
Okay, so right, so they define roles that way. Got it.
Yeah. So it's just people get upset with those words very easily. But I don't understand why, because they're just words, and what actually happens at home is different.
Well, I guess my thing has always been, like, I know a lot of people, they have an issue with the word submission. And again, I remember someone defining that for me one time. And that they said submission, if you break the word down, sub means under. So submission, if you were to switch it around, it's like it's under a mission. And it's just interesting that a lot of people don't have a problem submitting if there's a mission. You know what I'm saying? So it's I think he froze up. Let me bring him back to the stage, I think, and remove this guy. You're back?
Yeah, I'm sorry. My computer's crashing today. I think it's the weather.
I got you. So again, think about it. To be under a mission, right? Just like I said, we were watching the football games earlier. Everybody's under a mission. Not everyone has the same role. But again, there's a mission. And again, my thing is going to be, what is the mission? What are you in this thing for? And I think a lot of that gets lost when you talk about marriage and whatnot. What are we trying to do here? Are we talking about legacy? Are we talking about, companionship, partnership, mutual advantage? What are we in this thing for? And if everybody understands that, then quite frankly, everyone's going to be in submission to some degree. And that could be in terms of, yes, there's going to be a leader, just like on a team, there's a quarterback. And he's basically the head guy. And so, again, but nobody, it's like in any institution, like nobody has a problem. Nobody has the problem going to work submitting to a boss. No one has a problem with roles on teams or whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
But when it comes to marriage, then it becomes this untenable thing. Or you go to like the end extreme, or it's slavery. And certainly as an African American, I totally get the idea of, we're not slaves. And I understand that can be a sensitive issue when you talk about submission, because back in the day, people would quote, slaves obey your masters, and that kind of talk and whatnot. So I understand people's sensibilities when it comes to that. But if you don't like submission, then fine. But can you be under a mission or under a purpose, or can you cooperate? Again, however you want to define it. And there's certain things where I think a guy does take the lead. Sometimes there's going to be decisions that have to be made. And then who's going to make those decisions at the end of the day?
That part I agree 100%. Because
and so that I think that, but again, I'm still going to leave it up for the couple to work out. If you're going to say, and again, guys may not like this, if you're going to say, well, she makes, because she's the breadwinner, or she makes the majority of the money, when it comes down to final decisions, you make it. I know a lot of guys won't submit to that, ever. But if you're the one that does, I don't have a problem with that. I'm still going to ask the same question. How's it working for you? If it's working, what do I have to say? How am I going to judge your relationship? And a lot of the commentary be coming from people who are not even married or failed multiple times at marriage. So your way didn't work either, or your way of thinking didn't work either. So how's that working? So my thing is, again, there has to be, I think, a level of nuance here. My wife, she leaves the big decisions to me because, quite frankly, she doesn't want to make them. When it comes to major financial decisions and whatnot, say, Paul, you got that. More than likely, she comes to me. She doesn't like to make any kind of big decision until she talks to me first. She'd be like, let me talk to my husband first about that, or let me get his 2 cents. Or, a lot of times she'd be on the phone with a customer service rep or whatever, and when they get the language gets a little too technical or whatever, she's like, oh, hang on, let me get my husband on. Because I want him to hear. Because, again, I have an analytical mind. And I know how to ask probing questions that she may miss. So she trusts me to go out there and do things. And I haven't always been right. But she'll still say, I still trust you. I know your intentions were right. It just didn't work this time. But at no time does she ever take the ball out of my hands and say, no, I need to make the decisions now. So again, that works for us. So yeah, she will defer to me more times than not. But that's based on trust that's been built over time. And when it's, like I said, the hard stuff, she's like, nope, whatever you roll with, I'm with you. I'm riding with you.
The one thing that my parents lacked in their marriage, and I think you, CQ, and even King has really well, is the communication between each other. Respect is one thing. Loyalty is another thing. But if you don't have that communication line between each other, like you just said, oh, your wife doesn't understand something, like, hey, speak to my husband. You know the language a little better. But you guys do have the conversation afterwards, I assume, correct?
Oh, we are each one of us. We're our lead counsel on any decision. If I'm going to do something, again, the first conversation I'm having is with her. I'm like, look, I'm thinking about these moves. Again, it could be a big financial move. It could be something concerning the kids, career moves, or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
She's the first person I'm talking to. And I'm not going to just go in there and just say, well, I'm just making it. Now, again, if I did say that, then she'd be like, okay. But again, I don't even like it to get there. My thing is, let me break it down what my thought process is, and let me see if you agree with my thought process. Because again, it's better when we are both of the same mind. It's like, look, that makes sense or whatever, go with it. And I think any man, even if you're in leadership, I think you owe that. Leaders do make things clear. Leaders do set a clear objective in terms of what the mission, again, if you're going to be in submission or under a mission, it's a whole lot better when you know what the mission is. And that's up to the leader to define that and to make it clear to everybody involved so that everybody could put their hand in the pile and saying, we going with this. That's what leaders do. And unfortunately, you do see a lot of guys out there, they just want it just because you're a man. You just earn the mantle of leadership. And a lot of guys do make dumb decisions. I know plenty of guys who I'm like, I wouldn't trust them with $1. And a lot of guys are ready. Like, I'll tell my daughters, I'll be like, I may look at a guy and he's like, he's not ready. He needs to grow up. He needs there's certain things that he wasn't taught. And so all of that goes in. But are you grooming a man to be a leader? If you want that traditional service role of being, or head of household kind of role, are we raising men? Are we raising boys to be that? Or are we just saying, well, because I'm a man, you're supposed to submit to me because I'm the man? I think that's weak. Honestly.
Yeah, that's bullshit in my opinion.
Yeah. Just because you're a man, it doesn't make you the smartest.
I think you need to prove yourself when you're dating stage, why you should be the leader of the house, making the right decisions, even when you're in the dating stage. Then once you get to the next level, engagement, obviously we disagree about living together at that point. But let's say you are living together, that decisions, you both make, but you may say, okay, you guys are looking to two different apartments for argument's sakes. And you think one is better than the other. So he goes, you know what? I don't want to argue. You make the decision. And if you, about maybe 6 months later on, she goes, you know what? You were right. We picked this apartment. It's a lot better for us.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe the price was different. Just the location was better for some reason.
Yeah. But that's trust. Right? That's how trust is built over time.
There you go.
Trust is, again, having faith over time, and that faith being proven right. So it doesn't have to be, it's like, oh, well, I don't know. It's like, again, you have a track record. And so it's easy to say, yep, you got it, you take that over, run with it. And I think that's, I think that's something that, but again, it takes time. But again, even when you fail, like I said, I can't stress this enough. I have not always made the right decisions. My wife never beat me up for it because she knew, again, my intent was always correct, or at least in the right place. And it was always like, hey, we'll get them next time. God is good. That God will, make this thing right or whatever. I'm still with you. I can't tell you what that does for you as a man when your wife's got your back, even when you've made a mistake. And she's like, I mean, come on, you still the king here. You still do your thing.
And another thing I do like about you, again, you three, your marriage, yours, you and King, you guys can vent to each other. You can be each other's therapists. That's the other factor we forget too. Because if you cannot speak to your wife or to your husband about having a bad day or whatever it was, it's bugging you. Maybe you did something that it was kind of like a little fucked up, or whatever the case is.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe not. Maybe you should be able to have that conversation with the other half.
But some guys in the manosphere, nah, you don't do that. You never tell your woman or your wife that you're having these thoughts or you're going through something because they don't need to know that. They don't need that stress or burden. My thing is that is what the wife is for. The wife is your helpmate or helpmeet. If you can't confide in her, then what good is it? But you got some guys, it's like, no, they don't tell their wives any, if there's something bad going on, job wise or financially or whatever, because they said they don't want their wives to have that stress. And there's an image that you got to get. But I think in marriage, I think there should be a level of trust and transparency and nakedness that you should be able to be as raw as you need to be. And that is a sacred, protected place. That I can be vulnerable. But some of these guys are like, no, you should never show your vulnerabilities to your woman. I mean, like I said, how's that working for you?
Most
and if it's not, then maybe think something else. Our guy Anton again, this might be the super chat of the night. $5 super chat. Marriage isn't 50-50. It's 100% on both sides. Or the best way I can describe it from my time in the Army. Always give 110%, never less than 100. Facts. Appreciate you, brother.
You know what? He mentioned something good point here. The Army. Those women who are married to a Army man, a military person in general, they are the real heroes at the end of the day. Keep the family together, pay the bills. Because he might be deployed for 18 months or 23 months or whatever. We got to give them credit too, because he might be gone, but she has to do both roles, the husband role and the wife role. And obviously, she knows what she signed up for. I don't respect a woman who divorced somebody who's in the military because he's gone too long. You knew what you signed up for. So we got to give them credit too a little bit here. You know what I'm saying? They have a woman community in the military for support each other. I get that. Mm-hmm. But you got to give them credit because when he's gone, she has plays two different positions. Same thing when you were gone for your business trip. Your wife had to play husband and wife for a little bit, for a week, couple weeks. Mm-hmm. You got to give her credit for that. Let's be honest, Paul.
Yeah. I mean, it's just what we do. If she's got to go away for a minute, she doesn't travel often. But again, what needs to get done? I can't make it more simple than that. GSD, get stuff done. I'm sure you would say it differently than that, but I'm just saying, just get stuff done. It's like I said, I think we have simplified our lives to such an extent where we just don't try to overstress stuff. You know, if it needs to be done, even if it's painful, we don't fight over it. We don't fight it. We don't when it comes to our health. Mm-hmm. When it comes to, again, our finances, when it comes to what the best decisions for our daughter, when it came to my mom when she was sick, I mean, it's just what we do. And again, I think just people just make things a lot harder that they need to be because, again, you're holding on to these roles. And what happens if I'm seen in a light that doesn't align with the role? I mean, at the end of the day, it's just, I am me and she is her. And again, acceptance, I can't say this again, acceptance is definitely something that you have to go, instead of me trying to love what my perspective or version of her was, I had to love her. And yes, there's certain things she's not very good at. There's certain things about her that'll probably never change. I love her anyway. Just like she knows with me. I'm just who I am, and she appreciates who I am. The way I think, the way I act, even though she doesn't understand it a lot of times. And Paul is just different. And she accepts that and she appreciates it. And that is why, again, when it comes to conversations need to be had or she'll want me in a conversation, even if it's like a surprise call, it's like, hey, I'll put you on mute or whatever. Don't say anything, but I just want you to be on here because I just need your ear. Because again, you're good at certain things or picking up on certain things. And women have that kind of intuition also. Like I could be with some guys or whatever, and she could be like, I wasn't feeling that. They just have a way. I'm not feeling that guy. I'm not feeling that. I didn't feel comfortable or whatever. And I'm like, what's wrong? What are you talking about? And it's just something that they pick up on. And I listen to that. And I take that into consideration when decisions are being made. Again, but that's the balance. That's the fact that, why we work. So again, I just think that, I mean, the whole gender role thing, like I said, I would love to, even the obey thing that comes from certainly the Orthodox Church. Again, I would certainly like to hear a bit more, certainly about that. If you're saying that the Orthodox Church, does the Orthodox Church encourage women to, for example, pursue careers or education or what have you, or is it more domestic? I mean, I don't know. So I'm asking these questions just out. Yeah.
It's like a 50-50 mix because a lot of women that are actually who are married at my church, a couple of them actually work with me at my location.
Mm-hmm.
And they're a couple of my customers. And I didn't know that, to be honest with you. Like, so,
but I'm saying, but are some of these women, are they like high-end professionals, like six-figure, executives, VPs, business owners? I mean, really high. I'll give you
a great example, actually.
Yeah.
My buddy Paul, no relations with you, of course.
Gotcha.
His son is a lawyer, but guess who's his secretary? Who runs the office every day? His own office. His wife.
Mm-hmm.
So they are doing extremely well for each other.
But I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about a woman that is, for example, in leadership. She's VP over 100 people or 200 people or 1,000 people. Like when she has people who report to her directly and she makes command decisions.
Oh yeah,
what I would say is this. And again, this is my perception, not to offend any ladies or whatever, but sometimes it feels like you haven't been here that long. And what I mean by that is I do talk to a lot of brothers who have women, who have wives who are getting highly educated and in these sort of positions. VP executive positions, high earning positions, sometimes making 3 times much as the guy, and the guy makes a decent income. He makes 6 figures himself. Sometimes there is a lack of ability for a person to take that off. So you're boss in the office, and sometimes you speak to your husband as if he's an employee of yours at work. I do think that, again, in your home, I do think that some of that stuff, the roles that you play outside the house, shouldn't necessarily dictate what goes on inside your house.
Mm-hmm.
I do think sometimes you have to take that off. And I do know some women who, again, just in terms of how they talk to their husbands or address them sometimes, I think that is something that they need, that needs addressing.
So I'll give
you. And they may not see it. It could be something that's subconscious because, again, especially in these spaces, that sometimes you have to be a bit more masculine. I mean, if you're going to be in corporate America, yeah, I mean, there's certain traits that you have to take on, to be quote unquote or perceived as soft doesn't always come off the right way. Mm-hmm. And so there's this hard edge, and you're going to spend as much time in the office as you do at home. And sometimes you bring some of that stress of the job home with you. And sometimes you have to check and be like, whoa, I'm not one of your underlings. And so, again, can you take that role or title off? and be husband and wife in your home. I remember this woman, I think her name was Gandhi. She used to be president of Pepsi.
Okay.
I mean, Pepsi, it's a big company. But in her home, she was like a traditional Indian housewife.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I'm not saying that, again, you have to do that. But again, she's able to, the point is that she's able to take it off. She doesn't carry her VP title into her home. And I think that is something I think both the man and the woman have to be able to do. Your home should be your protected place where you're respected and revered and loved and listened to and comforted and all those things. You protect your home. If your career gets in the way of that, then I think that's what's going to lead to some problems. And so, yeah, women are balling out there. Doctors, lawyers, making $300,000, $400,000 a year, executive VP, all that stuff. And I'm not upset about it.
No, I give him credit for it, actually.
But how you treat your home and the people inside your home should not change.
So I'm going to give you an example right now, Paul, and a better example. So it was this one woman I know, Marina. She was my boss, all right? Greek woman. At the time, I didn't know she was Greek. We just started talking. We realized we're, both Greek, from, not from the same area. But anyway, so she was a director. She's making at least 2 digits a year. Her husband travels a lot, but he's home on the weekends, yada, yada. I seen her in church and outside church, at work setting and non-work setting. And when she's outside work, she's a completely different person. She's more what my husband needs, the wife's the wife role.
More traditional role, yeah.
Yeah, and when she's at work, she's very strict, very demanding. She will curse you the fuck out the first chance she gets if she needs to, and so she gets shit done. There's nothing wrong with that.
Mm-hmm.
She's very, I don't say alpha male, but headstrong at work.
Mm-hmm.
But she's more, more mischief when she's outside of work, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, the idea, the ability to compartmentalize, right? Like I said, there's roles that you have in society and there's roles inside the home. And there's some people who struggle with being able to take off those certain roles or how to switch at certain times. Mm-hmm. And again, you gotta be mindful of that. And I think that because women have certainly occupied, it's been the last 50 years, the advancements that women have made, again, I'm not upset about it. I'm not one of these guys who's saying get back in the kitchen. I'm not saying that at all. But with that responsibility, you still have things that need to get taken care of. If we are going to prosper as African Americans, if we're going to prosper, we got to get this relationship thing worked out. Because black men and black women, you've been in these spaces, you've heard all the conversation, it's not healthy. What we're saying about one another, it's not healthy. What we're doing with one another, we're arguing over petty stuff. And at the same, and again, just watch any of those pop the balloon shows. I mean, ridiculous what people are popping their balloons over. It's just, you didn't like his shoes, pop. She's got this, pop. It's just, come on. What are you looking for? And so again, if you're going to be focusing on this superficial stuff versus again the stuff that works, we're not going to make it. And so again, just a lot of the temperature, whether it be the manosphere space or the whatever female space or that kind of misandry space, we got misogyny and we got misandry going on, and it's not helping anybody. You might be getting viewers, but again, at the end of the day, where this is going. Anton, your wife is gonna delete us. I'm just saying, but again, we appreciate again another $20 super chat from my guy Anton. Your wife's Mrs. Anton, please don't be upset with us while we're doing the show. $20 super chat in the middle of 3 and my wife is the eldest of 10. All right. So yeah, so you're the middle of three and your wife is the eldest of 10. One time my wife spoke to me as if I was one of her siblings, and I had to remind her that I'm not one of her siblings, and my younger is older than her. Yeah. I mean that's the so yeah, you got to tamp some of that down. And again, if she was the oldest of the of 10, yeah, she's almost like the mom. She's like the second mother in the house. And there was probably some roles that she had to take on that out of necessity that she probably had to take. But yeah, you got to be able to switch that off. And yeah, brother, sometimes you got to check them and be like, yo, I'm not your. So again, that certainly does happen. Thank you for being transparent. That would be a great topic, though. If you and your wife ever do a show, that would be an excellent topic to talk about. Because again, we need certainly that kind of talk. And again, yes, Steph, the manosphere versus the sisterhood. It ain't working for nobody. They got two of my girls, they're AKAs. You go to these events and all these single women over there. It ain't working. I'm just saying we need to again, this whole, I can be bad all by myself and go get it, girl, and manosphere talking about we standing on business and all that. I mean, again, we're all gonna die off. So again, I'm that's why I'm not really in those combos like back in the day, because again, I don't think it serves a purpose. I want to talk about what works for us, and hopefully people could be and take what you can from that, take inspiration from that. But I'm just tired of just this. It's not doing anything for anybody. But yeah, I mean, what's your thoughts on that, or how do you see, like, what works for you? Maybe I haven't asked you this personally. I've talked a lot about what works for me, but in your ideal scenario, what works for you? Do you want your wife to have a career, or especially when it comes to kids, how you want to divide that up? Do you want to be more a traditional Greek Orthodox home? I mean, what is your what kind of conversation are you gonna have with a prospective Mrs. Panayotis?
Laritz is my last name.
I know it's Laritsis, but I'm just saying. But I like Panayotis.
First of all,
it took me a while to learn Panayotis, so I'm running with it. But
nothing about me is traditional. You should know this by now. I'm a unique black.
No, that doesn't mean you're not traditional. I'm not saying. I get not everything about you is traditional, but there's certain things you're very traditional about. So okay, I'm just saying, but that's part of the conversation you need to have with the prospect of Mrs. Laritsis about, again, what you expect, what you want. Again, you have to cast the vision, because she's looking for her man, you're looking for the woman. You have to cast the vision. And she's got to be like, look, I can roll with that. The good thing about the document that I wrote, nobody was going to be would have no questions or confusion about what I was looking for. I laid it out. So what's it going to be for you?
So I'm going to answer two different ways. Pre last engagement I had, and after. Pre-last engagement, I was very old school mentality because I didn't understand. I wasn't mature enough to understand, because I thought what I grew up with was a traditional marriage. That's how it's always supposed to be, no matter what. American marriage are kind of fucked up. Nobody stays together. I was the most negative person you ever thought about out there. So as I grew up and realized things are not as perfect as it seems like in my home. Like, mom and dad are still together, even though they had their problems, yada. Mm-hmm. So I realized their problems could have been fixed a lot. Is they had communication and some other things. So what is my perfect marriage to me looks like? Communication, number one, trust, loyalty, all that nine jazz. Now, the responsibility around the house, the roles could be either way. Yes, do I expect her to have a job? Yes, at least have a job. It doesn't have to be a 9-figure job. But if she's a server or whatever the case, I'm okay with that. If I'm the main breadwinner. or if it's the other way around. But as much I want to make most decisions in the marriage, and I like to, but sometimes some decisions might be equal, both. Let's say we're moving. Where are we moving to? To a new house we're renting or buying or whatever the case is. I think that's a big decision. It's not only on a man, it should be on a woman and man. And maybe I like the house, but she hates the kitchen arguments. Like I'm going to use the kitchen as an example.
Mhm.
Okay, can we demo it? Can we do what? And we continue looking and we find something and we both love. Again, that's a good example. Or a vehicle she likes, and great example. My ex, like she bought a Hyundai, exactly a Highlander, Toyota Highlander,
Mhm.
without test driving the car, and then she had issues with it. I told her multiple times, test drive the car, test drive the car. Again, she didn't listen.
Mhm.
She didn't even read the paperwork. She just signed away, and she walked away with a $600 lease
A month bill. Yeah.
month. That's way too much for a lease. So those are very few examples. I can't give you a 100% straight answer what I want, because at that situation in my marriage, it could be different what I say now, and then it happens in the future. I might say, yeah, I want to cook, clean, and stay home, all this stuff. But end of the day, what I really want, all the other stuff I can work with, is loyalty to me, loving, letting me get some ass every 2 or 3 days, kids, and a dog. Everything else I can work with. I can work around. I don't think I'm asking a lot there in the end of the day.
Mm.
Very simple stuff.
Yeah. But I would just make that known very early in the courting, because again, you can just get rid of a lot of people who are just not about that. Yeah,
I have. Like one person looked at me. She goes, "You, me, or the dog?" I started laughing. She goes, "What's so funny? Get the fuck out of my car now." She says, "What?" I went, "Get the fuck out of my car. I'm not picking you over my dog.
yeah.
My dog is gonna be there." That was Hercules, my first beagle. She was shocked I picked the dog over her, but she goes, "But I'm hot." Yeah, but guy doesn't like ugly. I went to her either. Very simple. Because if you might be gorgeous inside, but you might be the ugliest, most personality ever.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's something that because again, I know we had a show, people were upset with me because I was saying that it shouldn't take you more than 6 months to figure out if you want to marry someone or not.
I wasn't upset. I disagree with you.
What's that?
I wasn't upset with you. I disagreed with you.
Right, but then I'm saying, what are you doing? What are you talking about for 6 months? Like, why did it even have to get to that point before you figured out this person's not the right one for you or not? I think it's a waste of time. Again, a lot of times you're out there having fun, but are you having the substantive conversations that are going to filter ones that are just not ready for what you're offering, or they just don't want that life. Like I said, my whole purpose was I'm looking to filter. I want to scatter 99.9% of people and just leave 1 or 2 people standing, because that's who I want to talk to. So yeah, so if dog is important to you, I'm like, look, I got dogs, and I'm not giving up my dogs. If you're not a dog person, don't even apply. That sort of thing. I mean, I think that getting down to what's really important, and not everyone's necessarily for you. And again, if a person can't look at, again, those essential things, but but again, they want to focus like this pop the balloon stuff. They want to focus on superficial. He's too hot. He's not tall enough. He's not this enough. He's not that enough. She's not this or that. Again, when are we going to get down to the serious? How do we want that? We're trying to create a home and a life together. How do we want this thing to work? And I think if we can, get down to the main, I think that would, help a lot of people get on with stuff. But again, all that stuff that people be popping balloons for, none of that's going to necessarily make a difference long term. And some people, you should be glad that they popped the balloon because they're not worth it. But that's another thing.
That's a whole different conversation for a different topic.
Yeah, for sure. But let's. I think we've taken this combo. I think this was a good combo. I really appreciate the chat. Bomb Cherry Juice 2000. Really appreciate you being a part of the chat tonight. Not sure if you're still out there, but again, really appreciate the insights that you share in your marriage. Again, a marriage that is working, and certainly, you guys have certainly worked out a situation. Again, Eugene Steele, appreciate your content as well in this space, and Anton, as always, our number one fan in these spaces, always certain dropping gems of wisdom and experience here. And again, I'm looking forward to the things that you're going to be doing in these YouTube spaces very soon, and I'll be more than happy to share when you start to launch your channel and your network, the things that you'll be doing, because I think, again, you offer a lot to these spaces. But I think we can kind of go into final thoughts, since Len is playing a little bit early.
Yeah, before we go, Anton, I send you an email. I don't know if you read it yet. I give you my cell phone. Contact me, and I have some ideas that might help you out. With final thoughts, everything is unique at the moment. You guys see what works for you and your situation. What works for Paul may not work for me or for you. What works for me may not work for this guy. And I still have a better beer than him. That's it.
Oh, I give you that one. I'm not even competing for that. So hey, that title is all yours, sir. You can have it. But again, for me, I think that, again, fundamentals and principles and laws that govern relationships, I don't think change. But I do think there's certain roles that can, and that is, again, to be negotiated, to be honest and transparent about what you want. And don't compromise on those things that you want. And then the rest, you just work out over time. Again, you're going to go through your highs and lows. But again, I'm just very fortunate that, I'm in the situation that I'm in. And for the most part, it's been very peaceful. My wife is my peace. And in a world that, is challenging on so many levels, you can't put a price tag on that. So, again, we want to, thank everybody for being on here tonight. Again, I'm going to wrap up the show a little bit early. I'm going to give you guys a few minutes of your night back. I know for some of us who have to get out and shovel and snow plow tomorrow and all those things, good luck with that. Again, if you're going to shovel, use your legs, please. All right. If you need to, wear a back belt. And, but good form and technique goes a long way when you have to go out there and have to endure those type of elements. Like I said, I got 9 to 14 inches out there that I got to deal with in the morning, and we'll take care of it in due time. But, certainly for everyone else, because I know this storm blanketed the whole country. I know the guys I do the sports show with, DFW, Dallas Airport was shut down. Because of the snow and everything. So I hope everyone is safe, that you got power, you got plenty of food, and your cell phones are charged and all that kind of stuff. But, we haven't had a storm like this in quite some time, but just hope everyone is safe and healthy. Certainly with that, Pete, any last words before we sign off?
This is Sparta!
He is the Ghost of Sparta. I am Mr. Bennett. This is the gray area. Make sure, again, before you leave tonight, make sure you hit the like button as you leave. And again, hop over to Sparta HQ Network. Show some love over there also. Again, with Samuel's dual streaming over there as well. So make sure that you go there and like and look to subscribe. Again, there's a different suite of shows over there that I also participate in. And certainly we appreciate your patronage. So for myself and Sparta, this is the gray area. Enjoy your week. Take care. God bless. Good night.